What is up, everybody? Welcome back to 9 to 5 Gamers, and today is a before you buy, and we are doing Stardew Valley today. Stardew Valley, the board game, is an amazing game based off of a video game franchise called Stardew Valley, made by concernedape, and so they decided to make a board game based off the video game. Now, this segment is here to just kind of be there so you can determine whether or not this is a game you want to buy or not. This is before you buy. So if you feel like the critique that I'm giving is a little bit too negative, let me just tell you right off the bat, this is one of my golden lunchbox games. I gave this game a golden lunchbox because it is a 9 out of 10 for me. Now, if you're looking for a review, I have a review on my channel. You can go ahead and check the card. But this is not going to be a review. This is going to be focused on maybe some of the reasons why you shouldn't buy it and maybe some of the reasons why you should. So let's talk about Stardew Valley. So the point of the game is that you are farmers and you are left a farm by, I think it's your grandpa, and your grandpa leaves you this farm for you to take care of it, and so you have to do that. And then there's like this evil corporation that's supposed to be like Walmart or something like that. It's called Joja. It's almost like a Walmart Amazon thing. But they are basically trying to commercialize, but you're a small town, and so you're just trying to keep things the way that they are by doing farming and things like that instead of having everybody buy everything at Walmart, which is the Joja company. But anyways, the way that the game works is that it's a worker placement game. I'll tell you right off the bat, one of the pros of this game that I love is that it's one of the easiest games to teach. On your turn, you can do exactly 2 actions, right? So you can place your worker on a spot for that turn, and then when it's your turn, you are going to take an action. Then you can take that same action a second time, or you can move to an adjacent action through these little paths, and then take a second action, which would be a different action. But that's all you can do. You can do this action twice, or this action, move, and then take a second action. And that's it. That's the game. There are a little bit of things that you have to explain about the spaces and how they work, but it's a very simple worker placement style game. Now, right off the bat, this is a cooperative game. It is 1 to 4 players, and you can play together as a group. And I've played this at all player counts, and so I can speak into which player count is best. Playing the game solo is a great experience. I've played it solo, I've tried it by myself, and it's solid. I think it works really well at 1 player, but you could just play as 2 characters, and I think that that's the best way to play the solo game. If you want to play with 2 people, I think it plays best at the 2 to 3 player count. The reason why is that it just reduces the amount of time that it takes to play the game. At a full 4 player play count, this game can take a very long time to play. It is very grindy in nature because, again, you're doing a lot of the same actions. You're farming, planting crops, going to the mine, fishing. There's a lot of things that you're going to be doing, foraging and collecting different forageables, making friends, completing goals. The way that you win the game is that there are going to be 3 grandpa's goals or 4 grandpa's goals. I think it depends on the number of players. And then there's a recreation center, like a community center that you have to restore, and it has a bunch of different goals itself. So your goal is just to complete goals. And in that, one of the things I could say that could be difficult is that can get a little stale for some people, but I think that there's enough different goals in the game that each game is going to be something different, and you know what you're building towards at the very beginning of the game. One of the things that I don't like is that the recreation center goals, you don't know what they are until you pay a heart to flip over a goal. Like, that's one of the actions you have to take, is to flip the goals over. One of the ways you can remedy that is just to start the game with the goals flipped face up, and it just kind of helps you to know which ones you have to do. But if you want a more difficult game, keep them face down, and then you have to actually spend a turn flipping them over and then knowing what your goal is. I found that at times, if I didn't get to that at the very beginning of the game, it didn't flip over some of these goals, I would realize much later on, hey, you need spring forageable items, which then you're kind of like, oh, I'm already in winter, because you go through all 4 seasons. I'm already in winter, and now I can't complete that goal anymore. So I know that was one of the issues that we ran into. But again, that's player error. I don't think that that's an issue that everybody will get mad at. I think that's an issue people don't like your first time playing. But once you've played it a few times, you go, okay, I got to flip these goals over. That's very important. Another important thing is to make friends. Friends are very, very powerful resources. They basically sit off to the side, and you will use the action to make a friend. You flip over a card, and if you have an item that they like or something that they don't dislike, you can give that to them, make the friend, and then that friend will give you basically an ability every single time you get a gift on your season card. And so the way the game works is that you flip over season cards, and those are the different rounds. You go through about 4 rounds per game. You can actually extend the length of the game by having fewer rounds, but you get less done. So it's like sometimes you may want to add an extra season card to give you an extra round to get things done. I found that that's the most easy way, because I think one of the things a lot of people don't enjoy about this game, it's like a concern that a lot of people have had, is that the game is very difficult. Like right out the box, if you go by the standard rules and you don't make any kind of modifications to the game, it's hard. You will not win your first game. Like you'll have to cheat or do house rules if you want to try to complete this game. I know that happened with me and my wife. We were like, dude, we're not even close to winning. So we're like, let's just flip these goals over so we can see what they are. And we ended up cheating just to make it palatable. But after a while, we kind of saw what we were doing, and we were like, okay, well, obviously it's not that difficult. And then once you play it more, you get you'll understand how the game works better. So it is a cooperative game. So if you don't like cooperative games, you may not enjoy this game. If you don't like extremely difficult games, you may not like this game. Another complaint that I've heard in play groups that we've played with is that you start off the game as a particular profession. There's a person who's good at fishing. There's a person who's good at foraging. Another person that's great at planting crops. Another person that's good at mining. Did I say mining already, or did I say fishing? Mining, fishing, foraging, planting. Right? So you get a little card that tells you, hey, look, this is what you're kind of good at. Now, the good thing is you don't have to stick to what you're good at. Like if you got the fisherman card, you don't have to go to just fish the whole entire time. You're just better at fishing. Anybody can fish. It's not exclusive to you. But that's the thing. It's kind of like, if I'm good at this and my abilities are geared towards this, this is what I'm going to spend most of my time doing. Even though at times you may say, hey guys, somebody needs to go and make a friend or needs to go and do this. Okay, I'll stop fishing and I'll go work on that because, I'm not going to collect anything here either. And I could see that being something that maybe a lot of people didn't enjoy. And now somebody in one of our play groups that we played with, they ended up being the mining person, and they got that card and they were in the mine, and they're like, so do I just do this the rest of the game and that's it? And I was like, I mean, you don't have to. Technically, you're just better at it than everybody. And I was like, okay. So that's all that they did. But I think there's a sense of progression where as you start to go deeper into the mines and you start to get new cards, that it starts to get more exciting, where you're like, wait, now I remember that person who didn't enjoy it as much, they unlocked the ability to mine in different areas, and they were like, oh wow, now I can do this or that. He's like, oh man, that's broken. And then he starts looking through his cards and he's like, oh man, I get really powerful. So there's a sense of progression that'll keep you interested, even though you're kind of doing the same thing. Same thing with fishing, same thing with farming. When you're farming, you can do, like, you can harvest the first crop only, but then it's like, but you can harvest the first 3 crops, and it's like, oh, that's actually really powerful, really good. So there is a sense of progression to the game that makes it really palatable. But the thing that I love is just how simple and easy it is to play. Like, it's not complicated. The turns are not complicated. There's a planning phase where you get to talk about, hey, what do we need to do? Well, I can complete that goal if I go here and do that. Well, if you're going to do that, I'll do this. You're allowed to have those planning conversations. Put your pawns out on the board, and then everybody takes their turn. There's a little first player marker that has a dog cat token. That person will always go first, and then it'll go clockwise after that. So it's really, really interesting as a game, and I think it's very fun. One of the things you'll have to watch out for before you buy this game is that, number one, this is a very expensive game. You're looking to pay somewhere in the range of $70 to $100 for this game. Now, component-wise, I'm not sure if it's worth $100 component-wise. The reason why it's so expensive is because there was only one print run of this game up until recently. Actually, just within the last week or two, they did a second print run, which is the reason I was able to get the game. I reviewed the game earlier because I borrowed a copy from a friend of mine, and so I was able to play it ahead of time. But now I've got the second edition, and as I got the second edition, I was like, okay, now I can say confidently that this game is really hard to find. The second print run might even be out already. You may have trouble finding it unless people are just not interested in buying the game. Then there might be still a couple of copies out there. There's a difference. Some people might ask, what's the difference between the first and the second edition? Are there any changes? There actually is. One of the major changes they did to the game, this is still the same. The little pouches that have the tiles. Tiles are still the same. Be careful when you're popping out and punching out tiles. So before you buy this game, know right off the bat, you should buy an X-Acto blade, which I don't know if you know what those look like, but just in case you don't. So, an X-Acto knife, it looks like this. This is for hobbyists, people who do like models and things like that, because it's good. Having one of these has been essential to just board games in general, because when you're popping out pieces, sometimes pieces will tear. Like the edges of them will tear. So it's good to have this X-Acto knife to cut and make sure that it's not, because sometimes the what happens is whenever they printed these out, the edges weren't perforated all the way down. It's kind of like a pizza. Whenever you cut a pizza slice, you don't go all the way through with it. When you go to lift it, it's just still stuck.
Frank, you see what's going on here? I'm having a real hard time separating the slices. There we go.
That's exactly what happens with a lot of the pieces, and so you want to have an X-Acto blade so you can actually cut the pieces, and then it'll pop out a lot easier. I had a lot of issues popping out pieces. That has not changed. That was an issue with the first print, still an issue with the second print. There is also some pieces that, I know this bothers some people, there's some pieces that, like, you know the difference between the back of something and the front of something from punch board. So like the punch board, you can tell which is the top of the punch board and which is the bottom. It has a very different texture and feel. Some of the pieces were printed backwards for some reason, and you can tell a distinct difference in those pieces. It's like, oh, this one is on the wrong side, and that bothers some people. It doesn't bother me that much, but yeah. So as far as what they brought, they did bring in a new tray, and so in the original, you got this tray, which you store all the pieces in. By the way, I love this. This is so well organized, and I would just wish that more games had things like this for pieces. The board is the same, no difference in the quality, same bottom and everything. But the main difference is now it comes with this insert, which I'll show you here on screen. This insert is beautiful. It has places for everything. This right here, all of this in the first edition of the game is going to be in little bags, and that's all you can unfortunately do. But in the new version of the game, the second edition, they added in that insert, which I think made a massive difference in the playability of the game, because it makes the game easier to get to the table. Because when you have to go through little baggies and you're trying to sort and sift through stuff, that could be very frustrating. But component quality is great, and these are all the little punch tokens, which this you can't tell because there's like a big glare on it. Sorry, I just got to do that. So these are like the tokens. They're like double-sided, all of them. And there's like a normal version on the front. There's like a advanced version on the back. But this game, very well produced. It really is. But it just has a couple of little minor quality issues. But you can avoid that, unlike myself, because I tore a couple of my pieces. And that was because I did not cut them beforehand. That's what you should do, is just use that to kind of cut and make sure that it's perforated properly. I should have done that. I knew that was an issue with the first one. I assumed it wasn't going to be an issue with this one, so I had to use the X-Acto knife to trim off some excess paper.
I don't hate it. It's like I don't know, 4.8. It's not great. It's not horrible. You're going to get fat. Everyone's fat. They have no choice. There's no greens.
But all in all, Stardew Valley is a phenomenal game. I think that if you enjoy cooperative games, here's another good question. Do you have to play the video game to enjoy the board game? Not at all. If you've never played the board game, if you've never played the video game, it doesn't play into your enjoyment of this game, because you can still play this and have a great time. Absolutely, you can. I had never played Stardew Valley before I played the board game. Then I played the board game, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Is this how the actual game is? And my wife, her first playthrough, I believe, babe, you give this a 10 out of 10? You gave it a 9.5, okay? And I'm sitting at a 9. My initial impression of the game was an 8, but then I went up to a 9. On BGG, it is a 7.4, so keep that out the gate, because I know that most people use BGG, which is why I just go ahead and go with those scores. My personal score is that. It was an 8, but it became a 9 because I had never played Stardew Valley. I played the board game. I was like, oh, this is pretty good, actually. I actually enjoy this. And then my wife was like, yeah, if you like this, the board game is just like the video game. Like, she was like, every 5 seconds, she's like, oh my gosh, that's in the game. Oh my gosh, that person's in the game. Oh my gosh, they have the same likes and personalities. And it's like, how do you even know all this stuff? Then I played the video game, and the video game made my score go up because I was like, wow, the video game is really good too. It's just a fun game. If you like Minecraft, the video game, this is a board game that's very adjacent to that, where you're just kind of not building in things. Like in Minecraft, you build a lot of stuff, but like the way you fish and you have animals and things like that, and collect resources and then use those resources to do things with them. You improve your gear. You start off with like a regular pickaxe, but when you get some iron ore, you can make an iron pickaxe. Then you can turn it into a golden pickaxe. Then an iridium, I think it is, pickaxe, and it's just really interesting. It's a great game, man. Like, if you like cooperatives, this is a great game for you. If you don't like cooperatives, I wouldn't buy this. It's not going to change your opinion on cooperative games. It is very simple and easy to learn and teach to people. It's not a complicated game. I love that about it. You get kind of bored doing the same thing. You might not like this game because you're going to be kind of doing the same thing each turn. But there is a little bit of variety to that because you could switch roles throughout the game. There's also cards that allow you to gain abilities from other professions. So you can actually get different abilities from other professions and put them in your ability slots, which was kind of cool because it was like, oh, I got a mining ability even though I'm the fishing guy. You know what I mean? So I thought that was pretty cool. That kind of changes things up a little bit. It is very difficult. You do have to do some scaling and different things like that to scale the difficulty. There's a lot of ways that you can do that are in the game itself. Like in the rule book, it tells you if you find the game too hard, do this, or try playing like this for your first playthrough, do this. And it makes the game a lot more easy to get into. I recommend doing that, like when it says, hey, when you play, don't even use like the recreation goals, like the recreation center, don't even put those out. That is a very good idea in your first playthrough. And then later on add them in, and it changes up the game significantly and makes it a lot more difficult. But if you're up for a challenge and you really like Stardew Valley, I guarantee you this is a game that you will enjoy. Stardew Valley is phenomenal. 9 out of 10 for me, 9.5 out of 10 for my wife. There's some minor little issues here and there with certain things, but for the most part, I love this game. And again, I went from an 8 to a 9 just because I played the video game. Playing the video game helps thematically put things together, but it's not necessary or essential for you to enjoy this game. Play the video game. It's very cheap. You can actually get it on the iPad or any kind of tablets. You can get it on PlayStation, Xbox. Stardew Valley exists on all platforms, but remember that it is hard to find. I don't recommend paying more than $80 for this game. I would say that the game isn't even, I'd say this is more of like a $60 game. Like if you played this, you'd be like, this is worth $60. 80, I'm not 100% sure on. It's very expensive, but if you can find a copy and you like Stardew Valley, it's absolutely worth your time. It's a very fun, very easy worker placement game. But anyways, that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe, man. And in the comment section, let me know. Have you ever played Stardew Valley? Have you played the board game? Are you interested? What are some things about this that you think about before purchasing it? And let me know what you think. Anyway, peace out, guys. I'll see you guys later.